Every dragon man that ever marched under the five-headed banner began its life as something beautiful. A good dragon's egg. Gold, silver, bronze, copper, brass. Stolen from the nest, carried into the dark, and sung over by priests until the thing waiting inside forgot it was ever meant to be a hero. That is the secret the dragon armies never wanted spoken aloud. Every draconian is a murdered dragon, wearing a soldier's shape. And when you finally cut one down, traveler, it does not simply die. It turns to stone around your blade. It bursts into acid. Its bones detonate. It stands up, wearing your own face. So, you've come to the Outland Tavern, asking about the dragon men. Sit. Keep your steel where I can see it. I have poured drinks for men who fought them at the High Clerist's Tower, and buried most of them after. Tonight, I will tell you exactly what they are, how they were made, and the 5 cruel ways each kind repays the soldier who kills it. This is not a bestiary written by the safe and the distant. This is a field guide written in scorch marks and grave dirt. Listen closely. The knowing of it is the only edge you will get. Begin with the crime. When the cataclysm cracked the world, it also cracked open the door the Dark Queen Takhisis had been pressing against for 1,000 years. She returned, and she woke her evil dragons first, quietly, in secret, before any hero thought to look up. Those evil dragons did a patient, wicked thing. They raided the Isle of Dragons, where the metallic dragons, the good ones, laired and slept, and they stole the eggs. Room upon room of them, near 1,000 of each color, spirited away into the volcanic heart of the Lords of Doom near Sanction. Then came the bargain, and this is the part that curdles the blood. The good dragons were found and offered terms. Swear an oath, the darkness said. Swear to sit out the coming war, to lift not one claw against us, and your eggs will be returned, unharmed. And the noble dragons, to save their children, swore. They stood aside while the world burned. The eggs were never coming back. That was never the deal. In deep temples, on black altars, dark clerics of Takhisis and wizards in black robes worked evil rites over those stolen eggs. They did not hatch dragons. They corrupted what was inside, twisted it into something new, something loyal, something that would kill its own noble parents without a flicker of grief. The first of them were born on an altar, while a priest chanted prayers loud enough to be heard through the shell. Heredity and hatred poured into one mold. By the time the good dragons learned their oath had bought them nothing but the murder of their bloodline, the armies already had their soldiers. This was the year 352, and the dragon men were loose upon the world. Look at one, if you have the stomach. A draconian stands like a man and lies like a dragon. Scaled hide, a lizard's blunt snout, clawed hands that can hold a sword or open a throat with equal ease. A short, stubby tail for balance, and, on most of them, wings, folded, hidden, waiting. They are not the rabble you might expect from an evil host, where the ogres and goblins of the dragon armies squabble and break and flee. The Draconians hold. They feel no terror in a dragon's shadow. They were born from dragons. The awe that unmans other soldiers only makes them stand taller. They take orders. They keep ranks. They are, in the terrible arithmetic of war, the reliable ones. And they are ranked among themselves, lowest to highest, by the color of the egg that made them and the power baked into it. 5 kinds, 5 stolen medals, 5 deaths. Let me lay them out for you, one grave at a time. First and lowest, the Baaz, hatched from the fouled eggs of brass dragons and the smallest of the breed, which is exactly why they are the most dangerous to the unwary. A Baaz can throw a heavy robe over its wings, pull a hood low, and walk into a human town as just another traveler. They are spies, scouts, and the endless front rank, the common soldiery the High Lords spend like copper coins. But here is the Baaz's parting gift, and every Salamnic recruit is drilled on it until he dreams of it. Strike a Baaz down, and in the instant it dies, its whole body turns to stone. If your blade is buried in it when that happens, your sword is now trapped in a statue. You must wrench it free in a single desperate heartbeat, or the stone crumbles to dust and takes your weapon with it. Kill one Baaz in the front rank, lose your sword to the corpse, and the second Baaz is already on you, bare-handed and grinning. That is the whole grim design. Next, the Kapak, born of stolen copper eggs. Larger than the Baaz, stronger, and smarter in the narrow way of a good killer. They wear leather and scale. They glide on leathery wings, and they scorn clothing as a human weakness, hanging the trophies of their kills about their necks instead. The High Lords use them as elite soldiers, and, more often, as assassins. And the assassin's tool is grown right into the Kapak's own mouth. Its saliva is venom. A Kapak licks the edge of its blade before a fight, a short sword usually, and coats the steel in a paralytic poison. One cut that draws blood, one failed resistance, and a grown warrior seizes up, rigid and helpless, for the better part of an hour, while the battle moves on without him. Then comes the death. Cut a Kapak down, and it does not leave you a body to loot or to burn. It dissolves. The whole creature slumps and melts into a steaming, spreading pool of acid, fouling the ground, ruining anything that falls in, and denying you even the small comfort of a corpse to prove the thing is truly dead. Now we climb. The Bozak, made from bronze dragon eggs, and here the Draconians stop being merely soldiers and start being sorcerers. A Bozak commands real arcane magic. It casts like a trained battle wizard, bolts of force, gouts of burning hands, clouds of stinking vapor, webs and blindness. They are the officers, the special forces, the most cautious and calculating of the breed, the ones who think before they strike, which makes their death the cruelest joke of all. Bring a Bozak down, and for one long breath, its scaled flesh shrivels and crumbles to gray dust, leaving the bare skeleton standing. And then the bones begin to shake. They rattle. They hum. And in the next heartbeat, they explode. Anyone standing within 10 feet is torn by the blast. There is no dodging it, no saving throw, no mercy. The Bozak's final spell is its own corpse, and it casts it on whoever was standing close enough to celebrate. The Sivak. Largest of them all. 9 feet of muscle and menace, hatched from the eggs of silver dragons, gleaming like a polished coin, with eyes as black as the soul poured into them. These are the only true draconians that truly fly, and they fight with 2 wicked swords, raking claws, and a heavy armored tail. But the Sivak's real weapon is not in its hands. A Sivak can change its shape. Kill a man in private, and the Sivak can rise up wearing his face, his height, his voice, walk his patrol, sleep in his bunk, sit at his family's table, and no one the wiser. They have infiltrated fortresses this way. They have replaced men who were never found. The face across the fire from you tonight is a thing you should perhaps not take entirely on trust. And in death, the horror folds back on itself. Slay a Sivak, and its body twists into the shape of whoever struck the killing blow. It falls at your feet wearing your own face, a corpse that looks exactly like you, lying there for 3 days before it finally rots away into black soot. Explain that to the watch. And if the thing that killed it was no shape a Sivak could copy, it collapses instead into a spreading bronze shadow, burned into the ground where it fell. And at the summit, the Aurak, the rarest, the most powerful, and by far the most devious. Born from the corrupted eggs of gold dragons, the noblest metal of all, twisted into the cruelest servant of all. The Auraks are wingless. They do not deign to fly. And they are the generals, the spy masters, the assassins sent when a lesser draconian simply will not do. An Aurak is a walking arsenal of sorcery. It hurls lightning and raises walls of fire. It blinks from place to place, steps sideways through dimension doors, turns invisible at will, sees through every illusion you could raise against it, and can wear the shape of any beast its size. Its claws deliver a blast of raw magical energy. And worst of all, once a day, it can seize a mind outright, reach into a creature's skull, and wear it like a puppet for the length of a fight. But you have followed me this far, so you know the pattern by now. The most powerful draconian keeps the most violent death for last. As an Aurak falls, its wild magic tears loose from any control. The creature becomes a thing of pure, screaming energy, and then it detonates. A final burst of lightning and force that lashes everyone unlucky enough to still be standing near it. The Aurak's last act is to try to take you with it. Usually, it succeeds. These 5 kinds were the true spine of the dragon armies, not the dragons. The dragons were few and proud, an easily wounded pride. It was the Draconians who held the line, took the walls, and drowned the free peoples of Ansalon in disciplined, tireless numbers through the long years of the War of the Lance. Where the High Lords pointed, the dragon men marched. And when the war was finally broken and the Dark Queen thrown back, the dragon men did not conveniently vanish with their goddess. They were still here. Whole warbands melted into the wild places of Krynn, into ruins and caves and the broken corners of the map. And there they remained, a standing army with no war left to fight and nothing to do but survive and raid and hate. Remember, at the last, what every draconian truly is. Not a monster the gods made from nothing. A theft. A good dragon's child, stolen from the shell and hollowed out to serve the very darkness its parents died refusing to fight. The tragedy and the terror are the same wound. That is why they are the perfect soldiers of the Dark Queen, because grief is exactly what they were built out of. So there it is, traveler. Baaz to stone, Kapak to acid, Bozak to shrapnel, Sivak to your own dead face, Aurak to fire. 5 stolen eggs, 5 stolen deaths. Drink up. And the next time some hooded stranger takes the stool beside you and keeps his cloak on indoors, you look very carefully at the shape of his shoulders. If these old tales from behind the bar keep you a little sharper and a little more alive, then subscribe and keep your seat at the Outland Tavern. There are darker things than dragon men in the corners of these worlds, and I mean to pour you every one of them. Until then, mind the door, and mind who comes through it.